Thanks so much for your company. The details now. Over 98% of the annual budget funding amount for 2018 education priorities was used to finance free senior high school. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee report for the period reveals the remaining 1.25% was dispersed for capital investment. Chairman of PIAC, Dr. Steve Mantiel, believes more attention to job creation will empower people to cater for their children's education than for the state to directly bear the cost. He spoke at the launch of the 2018 PIAC annual report in Kumasi. Prince Apia was there and reports.
The annual budget funding account, ABFA, for 2018 received allocation of over 827,653,566 Ghana cedis 25 pesos from the Ministry of Finance for the 4 priority areas. The education priority area had 419,871,012 Ghana cedis 44 pesos, representing 51% of the total ABFA. A total of 98.75%, which is over 440 million Ghana cedis of the disbursement, was spent on the free SHS policy. 100 million Ghana cedis spent on the second tranche payment for the policy, and over 340 million Ghana cedis was spent for third term 2017-2018 academic year, while the remaining 1.25% was spent on educational infrastructure. Chairman of PIAC, Dr. Steve Mantiel, says this must be reviewed.
I made my point that PIAC as a committee is in full support. We even see the free education as a better use of the revenues than those good projects. Okay? But we need to think through whether it's the strategy that will give us the best returns. Let's use the oil revenue to create jobs so people can get jobs and use the money, the income, to pay their children's school fees. That is more sustainable. That's all. These children going through the school system. If we don't use oil money to create jobs, when they come out of school, they have no jobs. So we are saying that it's a balancing act. You can support, okay? You can support free SHS with a portion of the oil revenue. Maybe you say pay 50% or some subsidy, and then use the other portion to lay the basis that will provide jobs for these children when they come out of school. So I think it's a debate all Ghanaians should get involved in. One person does not have the solution. And the people we vote into power don't have monopoly over knowledge.
Dr. Mantiel's submission was fiercely objected to by the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah at the launch of the 2018 PIAC annual report held in Kumasi.
Maybe, you see, it never affected him. So he underrated free SHS. My uncle borrowed 40 cedis in 1974. That changed my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone to secondary school. Please, if you don't witness it, you say it different. I'm a living witness. I'm a living practical example. And I appreciate what free SHS is doing. You don't know it today, but I'm telling you, you cannot underrate it. I have some of my mates who could not enter secondary school. Me, I will defend free SHS with my last blood.
Prince Apia reporting.
Let's get more on this. I'm joined on the phone now by Chairman of the Education Committee in Parliament, Siaka Stevens. Good morning, sir. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Kinsley.
We understand that free SHS is big for this government, and many have argued about its necessity. We're not going to go into that today. We're going to look at the funding for education and how 98% of this was given towards the free senior high school program at the detriment of other sectors of the education or other sectors in education. What is your reaction to this, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kinsley. At the moment, we are in Kofodia, the education committees in Kofodia, to make sure we restructure and merge some of the existing institutions that seem to be conflicting, like National Council for Tertiary Education and the National Accreditation Board into one institution, and to be known this time as Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, if you're able to pass this bill. So we are there, Kofodia, at the moment. Well, the issue of this free SHS, it has come to stay. But anytime there is an imaginary issue coming to play, then it comes from the pusher of the opposition in Parliament, that's NDC. The pusher has not changed since the day Nana Addo had a dream for Ghanaians that if you get the North to allow the national cake to cut across every household so that each and everyone in the country will get access to a school, equal access to school, so that the charcoal seller daughter or child will get to school, a watchman, security person's son will go to school, myself speaking, my child will go to school, and yourself, your good self, your child will go to school. That is what has been the issue all the time. And the pusher has not changed, because they started attacking it from day one, that it will not work and it will not succeed. So based on that, their principle, whatever steps that to be taken to make sure it works, then they start to punch holes. The annual budget funding amount is not a new phenomenon. This is not an issue where it is discovered because it is passing through the back door to, just inject this fund into the education. It passes through Parliament, where we all debated the budget and overwhelmingly approved of it. So if a budget has been overwhelmingly approved and there was no dissenting view, and now we are using this fund to manage free SHS, then the story changes again.
Let me just come in here, sir, and you're speaking to Bernice Abubeidulansa. The issue for it's not about the annual budget itself, it's about the percentage. So yes, there was an amount that was supposed to be given to the education sector, and what PIAC is raising concerns with is that you have 98% of this ABFA going to free SHS alone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a stolen money. It's not a stolen money, and it's not passing through the back door. It's not an open secret too. This one is on the table for everybody to see, and we are doing it. And what is wrong? It's a matter of priority of the government. What is our priority as a nation? Our priority as a nation, you have to list them in order of decreasing importance. One of the most crucial aspects is education, health, water and sanitation, roads. These are our priority as a nation. So if we tackle education once and for all, and make sure we compare ourselves like the way China did 10 years ago, what was the status of China? And then today, what has been the story of China?
Okay, so are you
want to go there?
Are you satisfied? Yeah. Are you satisfied with the percentage left for other sectors? You're looking at
I'm satisfied because there's a total hullabaloo about the free SHS coupled with the double track system. So every Ghanaian will be satisfied to know that the double track system gradually will fade away. So about 80-something secondary schools across the country, projects are going on to take care of double track come September. So who is not happy about this?
Okay, so are you in any way suggesting that after we phase out the double track system, you're going to spend less money funding free senior high school?
The free SHS and the double track is our major problem now.
All right, please just hold on for me.
Eradicate it. Well, there won't be any trouble, the double track again to tackle.
All right.
Rather, the money will be channeled into some of these priorities that I've mentioned.
Please just hold on for me. I've got Dr. Mantiao. He is PIAC's chairperson, and he joins us on the line. Certainly, you're unhappy about a government's decision on it. We are just speaking to the chair of the Education Committee in Parliament. He doesn't see anything wrong with how the money has been spent. He is arguing actually now that once they're able to phase out the double track system, then less money is going to be spent. So probably a painful pill we have to swallow for now. Does this in any way affect your stance on the matter?
Well, let me make the point first and foremost that any policy that ensures inclusive society, that creates opportunities for the ensure its sustainability. And the concern we are raising as a committee is that the way we are approaching it will not secure the program. It makes it very, very vulnerable. Let me give you a particular instance. In 2015 into 2016, world crude oil prices collapsed and dropped from somewhere around $100 a barrel to as low as $29 a barrel. Assuming we had free SHS at that time, and we are programmed to spend oil money to pay the fees of these children, and we woke up that morning and the oil price has dropped so low, how are we going to fund the children's education? The point we make is that over-reliance on oil revenue makes the program very vulnerable. So let's look for complementary sources of funding, such that if the prices were to collapse tomorrow, it will not jeopardize the future of these children. We are calling for diversification. Look, we do have a Ghana Education Trust Fund. A Ghana Education Trust Fund receives assured revenue, 2.5% of DAT, and for which we do not have any accountability mechanism to ensure that it's doing exactly what it ought to do. Then we create a free SHS system, a fund that complements, sitting somewhere with its own bureaucracy called the Free SHS Secretariat. Then we have the Scholarship Secretariat that also is allocated some money and all that. And we are saying that, look, let's harmonize all these resources that are meant to support education. Let's also get, for instance, the Cocoa Board Scholarship. Nobody knows what has happened to it since the introduction of the free SHS. Let's also channel the Cocoa Board Fund into this common pool. Again, I know a lot of the companies, the oil companies, the mining companies, they have corporate social responsibility budgets, part of which supports children's education. Now, nobody knows what has happened to these scholarship programs that these oil companies and mining companies have. So again, let's channel some of these resources. Let us not get them to withdraw the funds that were going to support secondary school education. Let's encourage them even to increase their contribution to the funding of second cycle education. Other companies should be encouraged. The MTN Foundation, the Vodafone, the GNPC Foundation. Let's channel all these resources into a common pool. And given the broad support that the free SHS program enjoys, perhaps we can increase the VAT element of it by 0.5% to ensure that we do not rely too much on oil, such that when the prices collapse, will jeopardize the future of these children.
Mr. Mantel, so for you, you're looking at other funding sources apart from oil revenue.
Yeah, the point we are making is that the over-reliance on oil makes the whole program risky.
Okay, but what's your take? Let's just move away a bit from the funding bit and talk about the percentage of that amount used just for free senior high school. Because the education sector has different, divisions, different basic, primary, basic, junior high school, and all those other things. So the argument for many stemming from your report is that if almost 100% of that is just used for free senior high school, then what happens to the other levels?
I didn't get the essence of your question.
I'm saying that you are talking about funding.
Yeah.
But for other people, picking and the comments and reactions we are getting from your report has to do with the percentage that is given to only free senior high school. And I'm asking if you have any thoughts to share on that.
Yeah, it is precisely the huge chunk that is spent on free senior high school, which is warranting us to ask for diversification of the funding sources. So it's the same problem, really. In 2018, as much as 51% of total net oil revenues that were allocated to the APSA was spent on free SHS. So we are saying that it's too huge, and that it is because we are relying solely on oil revenue and very little on other sources. So let's diversify, increase the pool of revenue sources, so that we don't actually risk the children's future when the oil prices collapse.
Okay. Doc, if I get you right, would you have been okay if the percentage allocated to free SHS, for example, was 50% and the other 50 took care of other parts of the sector?
You see, that's another issue we need to take into account. Free SHS, this is the payment of school fees, is a recurrent expenditure item. Now, the Petroleum Revenue Management Act requires that we spend up to 70% of our petroleum resources on public investment expenditure and 30% on, I guess, goods and services. Now, the way the Ministry of Finance classifies its account is that they have the public investment expenditure and goods and services. Goods and services, we all know, is recurrent expenditure. So by interpretation, public investment expenditure refers to capital expenditure. And we're saying that it's that we are actually falling short of spending 70% on capital expenditure. We are actually violating the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. When we made this position initially known to the government, they contested it. But in the 2018 report they gave to PIAC, in programming, so that they indicated in their report that they have complied with the requirement to spend 70% of petroleum revenues on capital expenditure. But by the close of the year, the actual expenditure fell short of the 70. So, while programming, they indeed ensured that they met the 70% requirement. But in actual expenditure, they fell short. They only spent 49% on capital expenditure and 51% on recurrent expenditure, the bulk of which went into free SHS. And that's why we are raising joint attention for us to take another view of this particular issue.
Are you satisfied that the chairman of Parliament's Education Committee suggests that once the double track system is phased out, we're going to spend less?
That is not true. In fact, during the 2018 financial year, only 1.5% of the allocation, the APFA allocation to the education sector was spent on infrastructure. Only 1%. The bulk, that is 98.something%, went into recurring expenditure, the free SHS. So once you do away, you improve the infrastructure base and do away with the double track system, the recurrent element, which is the fee, will remain. So I don't see less money going into the free SHS in the foreseeable future.
Let me just get a reaction from him, Mr. Stevens. Hello, Mr. Stevens.
Yeah.
Yes, you just had Dr. Mante out there. He disagrees with you. He has some facts to back his position. What will your response be?
No. If you listen to him carefully, he's not in disagreement with the free SHS concept.
No, I'm not saying, when I say disagree, I mean the point you made that once the double track system is phased out, you're going to be spending less on the free senior high school program. He disagrees with that.
He has come out with some imaginary ideas as to how we should get alternatives.
Did you? Sorry. Did you say imaginary ideas?
Yeah.
He gave figures. He gave figures to suggest that we spend just about 1.5%, if I remember clearly,
he's talking about
on infrastructure.
Of funding.
No,
he's talking about alternative sources of funding.
Mr. Stevens, I asked him a couple of questions. He spoke about the alternative sources of funding. Then I put your suggestion or claim to him that if the double track system is phased out, you're going to be spending less on the free senior high school program, and he disagrees, saying that we've actually spent less on infrastructure. What we're going to be spending more on is the number of students who are going to be enrolled. And as we've seen, the trend is that since free senior high school, the numbers have increased largely. And that's what I'm asking you to react to.
Well, that's why I'm saying that he has suggested a number of alternative ideas of funding free SHS. And he's right. He's right in bringing up all these alternative ideas, which is good. But until these ideas put into action, what do we do now? Where do stand? Where do we go? And that's why I'm not equally, like the way you put it, happy that we should over-rely 100% on the oil flow. So there are policy arrangements that will make sure that the government or the GS will not over-depend on the oil revenue. We know that it's a raw material, and it can get challenges tomorrow.
But as it is now, we are over-depending on it. So what are we looking at?
For now, the resources is there. If it is there now and the concept is good, what do? We have to make sure we judiciously apply for it and make sure we come up from the problem you are all talking about, that the double track. It's a problem that a lot of people are talking about, meaning the concept is good, but it should come out from the double track. So if you have the resources now, what do? You see, we are the lawmakers. We make our own laws, and at any point in time, when we think we are fixed somewhere, we can readjust and realign and move forward. That's what we are doing.
Has any proposal come to you at the committee level on other ways to raise funds for the free senior high school program?
No, if you look at the budget itself, the budget clearly indicates source of funding. Unfortunately, like I told you earlier, I'm in the meeting now. I don't have my budget documents with me when you call. So I have to come out to explain things to you. The budget clearly spells out the source of funding for the free SHS. And among some of the sources is the, the oil revenue, which the ABF takes care of. And I don't understand why we're taking that alone to mean a lot.
No, I am just asking, you have moved away from that. I'm asking that, have you received any proposals, any ideas on how to get, funds for the... Yes, as chair of the committee in Parliament.
The restructuring and emergence of some of the institutions that seem to have conflicting issues.
All right.
So I'm yet to receive.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Siaka Stevens there, he is chair of the Education Committee in Parliament.